Hi everyone, this is Ronnie from The Volchemist, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to do a provisional cast on with help of a crochet hook directly onto the needle, which will skip the step of having to pick up knit stitches into a previously created crochet chain, which in my opinion is rather difficult. So this method here puts those two steps all in one, and it's very quick and simple. So you will find that provisional cast on is actually super easy to do. What you need to do, even if you can't crochet, this is totally doable. All you need to do to start off with is to create a slip knot onto your crochet hook any way that you want. And I like to start by just doing a few chain stitches. Now, a chain is essentially just pulling the yarn through your existing loop a few times. That's a chain. So 1, 2, 3. This is just gonna dangle off your needle. This is just to be easier to identify your first stitch, really, and also make sure that your cast on doesn't start with the knot. So here we go, and now we are starting the actual provisional cast on. You're going to need your knitting needle. I am going to make a Fair Isle headband. So for this I am using a 3mm long circular because I'm going to be working with the magic loop, but you can use any needle that your project requires. I'm knitting continentally, as you can see, so I'm tensioning the yarn with my left forefinger. I like to just twist it around a few times to keep an even tension. And then the only thing that matters is that your working yarn runs behind your needle. I hold on to this little tail with my thumb at the same time as I'm holding my knitting needle, and the provisional cast on will create little stitches directly onto the needle with help of your crochet hook. What you're gonna see is a chain running along your needle with picked up stitches on your needle, and you're gonna be able to knit into these picked up stitches while you have that chain in place. So this yarn is not the actual color that I'm going to be working with. I always suggest that you use a color yarn which is contrasting your actual yarn. I'm going to be working with that lovely gray and blue in the background. So this yellow seemed like a really good choice that I'm going to be able to see easily when I'm going to be picking out, unraveling my provisional cast on where I need to go with my knitting needle. So here we go, my working yarn is behind my needle, my crochet hook is in front, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna catch your working yarn with your crochet hook, bring it around your needle, pull it through the crochet hook, and here you already created your first stitch. Now there's only one more thing to remember. You have to make sure that this working yarn goes back behind your crochet hook. So this little lift is a step that you cannot miss. Again, you're going to be catching it, pulling it to the front, and pulling it through your little chain. Now I'm going to have to actually look at what I'm doing rather than looking at the camera screen, and I'm going to be easier. And then the next step is once again to just put this yarn tail back behind your needle. It's a little bit like a dance once you get practiced in it, and you feel free to pull it a little bit looser. It doesn't have to be tight at all. And every time you created a chain, you will just do this little flick and you go back behind. So pull it through the loop, put it back behind, pull it through the loop, put it back behind. This is so easy to count as well because you just go ahead and count the stitches that's already on the needle, which I find much easier than trying to count those little V's of the chain. So when you have to pick up quite a large amount of stitches provisionally, like I do now, I'm gonna need a total of 120. It's a nightmare to try to count chains. When I first learned how to do the provisional cast on, I was told to just make a chain as long as what I need for my project, and then pick up the stitches into the back of the chain. So the very first time I picked up the stitches in the wrong part of the chain. And then finally, somebody informed me that the place you're looking for to pick up your stitches into is not the little V's that you can see forming here, but the little bumps that's located on the back of the chain. So I'm going to show you now, just out of interest. If you would do the chain on its own and then pick up stitches after, which is completely something you can do if you prefer, it's not a problem, then you would make a chain. See, this is my chain here that's ready, and then one side of the chain, as you can see, is smooth and it forms these little interlocking V's, and the other side of the chain has these little sort of bumps. They look a little bit like pearl bumps. My camera is struggling to focus on them, and those are the bumps that you would need to work into. I personally find that, especially with thinner yarn, I'm currently working with fingering weight yarn, especially with thinner yarn, this can prove challenging. I'd much prefer to do it at the same time. I mean, you're crocheting already anyway. This is not much slower than making a crochet chain. Counting is easier, and you already have your stitches picked up onto the needle, so you skip a step or you just combine those steps together. And I find this method to be much easier. So this is the provisional cast on. What I like to do after my cast on is ready is just to then pick up the color that I'm going to be working with, join it at the beginning, and then start knitting with the second color, with the actual color of the project as normal, into these stitches that's already on my needle. The point of a provisional cast on is to be able to continue working with this end, because this way you're creating almost live stitches. So this yellow yarn will hold the starting stitches for you in place of a needle. And if you later want to do something with that end, for example, you want to start knitting in the other direction, or if you want to create a lining that you can then fold over and make it a double-sided project, or even if you want to apply a I-cord edge later on, or maybe you just don't know yet what kind of ribbing you want and you want to decide later. For any and every project, a provisional cast on is an absolutely great way to start, even if you later on change your mind and don't really use it for anything. You can just then pick up the stitches and bind them off. And I'm gonna tell you another fantastic reason why you would want to do a provisional cast on. See, for socks, when I knit socks, I really struggle to do a cast on which is flexible enough for the cuff of the sock. No matter which special cast on I try, my sock cuffs always tend to end up being too tight. And then if I manage to make them loose enough, they are too loose. So they just kind of floppy and they're not elastic at all. And I can do several different styles of bind-offs, which are beautifully flexible. So if you prefer knitting your socks from the cuff down, but you can't for the life of you manage a stretchy cast on, then I have great news for you. You can cast on your socks from the cuff down using provisional cast on. Start your socks not from the cuff, but from the pattern right under the cuff. So from where usually the stockinette stitch part would start from. Leave the ribbing to last. So you finish your sock, you knit it with the provisional cast on in place, you knit it cuff down, starting right under the cuff, And then when your sock is finished, it's the right size, you did your grafting of the toe and everything else is done, then you get back to your cuff, you pick up the stitches from your provisional cast on, and you knit your cuff from the sock upwards, and you do your stretchy elastic bind off just like you normally would. So this for you is a great option if you have some gorgeous sock patterns which are knitted from the cuff down, but you don't know how to do a proper stitchy cast on. Here you go, use a provisional cast on, knit your sock cuff down from right under the cuff, and do your cuff last using the stitches which were held live by your provisional cast on. Right, so this is it, guys. As you can see, it's fairly quick, it's easy, it's simple, it's really nothing to it, so no need to be scared of it. Provisional cast on with a crochet hook straight onto your knitting needle. What I'm gonna do also is when I have enough stitches, so I counted my however many I needed, and I'm ready to start my project, I always like to do a few more chain stitches. So I'm gonna do, say, I don't know, 3 more chains on this end, and I just pull the entire length of the yarn through it to secure it. That just makes sure that it doesn't unravel until I need it. When you're unraveling your provisional cast on, after you created your project and you need to work with those stitches again, you're gonna look for the end where you pulled your yarn tail through, and you just unravel that one, and then you can start pulling it like a zip, but I'll be making a separate video showing you how exactly that looks like and how easy it is to pick those stitches back up. Thanks for watching.